All right, well, did you feel the earth shake a bit today? Many thought that it was another earthquake along the Wasatch Front, even taking to social media to chat about it.
Earth's magnetic field protects us from things like solar radiation and charged particles from the sun, but it's gradually getting weaker, and scientists don't know why.
Now, I imagine you know where the North Pole is, or at least you think you know where the North Pole is. Did you know, in fact, it has been moving and changed direction since the turn of the century? Well, I am, of course, talking about the magnetic north, not the geographic one, but that magnetic north does impact our GPS systems, compasses.
Most compasses use Earth's magnetic field to tell us which way is north. The problem is the North Magnetic Pole has always had a hard time staying in one place. In fact, it was moving at the rate of 10 to 15 kilometers per year from the Canadian Arctic towards Siberia. Then in the 1990s, it started going 4 times as fast.
I find it spectacular that, the speed increased that much in such a short period of time.
Well, here's something that you don't see every day. Last Tuesday, the Giantess Geyser in Yellowstone Park roared back to life after a period of more than 6.5 years without erupting. The Giantess Geyser is located in the Upper Geyser Basin of Yellowstone National Park.
Yellowstone National Park is growing a new thermal area. MTN's John Shearer dropped by the park before it closed for the fall to check out this new hotspot that's way off the trail.
This is a new thermal area that's really still developing.
What you see here is an area where trees and other plants have been killed by high temperatures and caustic chemicals boiling up from underground. That's exactly what's happening in a new thermal area near Turn Lake.
You could see places where the trees had fallen and the underside of the tree that's facing the ground was sort of scorched.
Poland, Hungerford, and a few others flew near the new site by helicopter in August, then hiked in the final few miles.
It was pretty, I felt an excitement, but also kind of a wonder that, here we are at this new place that has really not been described, at least by people on the ground.
That is science speak, which means they were the first people to ever walk right up and see this new feature.
You do have this sense of like, wow, this is new, and
Navigation has come a long way since the days of American aviator Charles Lindbergh.
Where am I? I could be anywhere from Iceland to the coast of Africa.
Runway 10.
But in this high-tech GPS-driven age, the compass remains an indispensable tool for pilots.
About what exactly it is, this magnetic North Pole, and there was a lot of articles this time last year alarming us that it was moving more rapidly and changing direction, but hasn't it always moved? It seems to have started to speed up perhaps, and then it changed from heading in the direction of Canada towards changing to Siberia. Now, you have said that the movement is generated by the Earth's core, which is thousands of kilometers under our feet. But what impacts it? What do you see as the reason for this movement and switch in direction?
So yes, it has moved since about 1860. It's moved about 2,500 kilometers. But in fact, the thing that's been quite interesting is that since the 1990s, it's really sped up very much, as you alluded to.
And over time, airports have had to rename runways that were named for their magnetic heading.
They've all had to renumber the runways because it's changed that much.
The polar drift has even led to speculation that a weakening magnetic field might lead the north and south magnetic poles to flip spots.
It's certainly a very complicated one. The Earth as a planet, as an entire system, is a very complicated arrangement of many things. The magnetic field itself.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Dr. Brown, thanks so much for joining us live and giving us your insight into that magnetic North Pole, opening worlds for those of us that don't follow all these movements. Dr. Brown, they're coming to us live.
Time right now, 6:55. A growing dent in Earth's magnetic field could impact satellites and spacecraft.
And the spot is called the South Atlantic Anomaly. So scientists are also monitoring how the South Atlantic Anomaly could affect our own atmosphere. At least for now, NASA says it won't affect us here on Earth. Now this.
The waters around the Antarctic Peninsula are not only home to unique marine animals, but also to their means of survival. They eat krill, a key species in the Southern Ocean's ecosystem. But all this is in danger of extinction.
The science has been showing that Antarctica is particularly delicate, but also very important for the whole world.
Why do you say that Antarctica is so important for the rest of the world?
This current called the Humboldt current is actually a current that comes from the Antarctica, and it brings all this cold, rich water on microorganisms, but also very rich in oxygen because it's cold. So the current also creates a huge amount of life for a much bigger area than just Antarctica. The only way to actually have more fish even in the future, or to have life in this planet, is actually to protect some of those places that are key for the balance of this planet.
For the third year in a row, Chile and Argentina are jointly asking the annual meeting of the Commission to declare parts of the peninsula off limits to commercial fishing. The Southern Ocean's unique environment supports species that can't be found anywhere else on the planet.
More than 19 million people in the Philippines are being affected by the typhoon. It first made landfall over the island province of Catanduanes at 5 a.m. local time on Sunday, before making its way to Albay and Camarines Sur, provinces that have likely sustained extensive damage. Many areas remain cut off. Power and communication lines are down, and some roads are blocked by debris. Goni comes a week after Typhoon Molave hit the same region. But the devastation it left behind is beyond comprehension. Even for a region often battered by natural disasters, the devastation here is clearly unprecedented. Typhoon Goni was the most powerful storm to hit this year. It made landfall in the Bicol region early on Sunday morning.
In Indonesia's southernmost province, farmers are struggling through a water crisis. The peak of the dry season was supposed to end in August, but months later, little has changed.
It scared me. When I was in the car, I jumped. It scared me. So my initial reaction, it was like an explosion.
A strange phenomenon in Euclid, as police say they have received half a dozen calls since Saturday about explosive sounds that are shaking homes.
Hoping to get to the bottom of it, they're asking people who live there to report any booms immediately.
News 5's Emily Hamilton talked to residents who say this started long before this weekend.
One woman told me she's been hearing these explosive sounds for 6 weeks, and they often wake her up in the middle of the night. Carol Tamburo says it's been weeks of sleepless nights.
I've heard them during the day occasionally, but mostly at night.
Tamburo says no concrete explanation for the explosive noises is causing major confusion for her and neighbors.
It's the talk of the town, anywhere from earthquakes to constructions.
This unexplainable is peculiar. Me, my wife, and my neighbors, we all want to know what's going on. It scared me. When I was in the car, I jumped. It scared me. So my initial reaction, it was like an explosion. My neighbor across the street and my neighbors on the left of me and right of me, they all came out and they experienced the same boom.
George Wilson has lived in his Euclid neighborhood for 22 years and says while he's not particularly concerned for his family's safety, he would like an explanation.
It's weird. And I've never experienced that, and I've been in this neighborhood since 1998.
Okay. Hey, over the last 200 years, the European Space Agency reports that Earth's magnetic field has weakened by 9%. But there's an area where the problem is severe. It's called the South Atlantic anomaly. What can you tell us about that? And what are the effects of this?
So the region in question is from the northern portion of South America, stretching across the Atlantic into Africa. And the main problem is that the magnetic field of our planet is relatively weak there because the center of the magnetic field is set away from that region. But if the magnetic field weakens continuously, in fact, if the magnetic field turned off, that would really be bad news. As long as we have any measure of magnetic field, even a weakened field, it protects us in large measure from these dangers from space. It's if the magnetic field turns off that you and I really have a problem.
Dr. Delaney, this sounds like a plot line from Marvel.
Oh, I wish I could make it up.
So troubling that scientists don't know why this is happening.
This new thermal area is so deep in the backcountry, it took satellites to spot the telltale signs.
The heat and carbon dioxide.
But it emerged slowly, showing up in aerial and satellite photos over about 15 years.
This is a new thermal area that's really still developing.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe.